Welcome, Melanie here with Christian Craft Paper, and this afternoon we are going to dive into another beaded tassel craft, one I've been wanting to do. We have played with the tassels with some jute, we've used some ribbon. Today we're going to be doing fabric. So let me show you the supplies that I have gathered, and as you're popping on, or if you're watching the replay, let me know where you're seeing us at. I love meeting all of the new friends. This month, this is our monthly kit. The theme for this month is Fall Into His Piece. So all of the members are getting Fall Into His Piece napkins, Fall Into His Piece transfers, which we'll be playing with today. And then the project kit included this layered pumpkin sign. And in the layered pumpkin sign, let me show you how it came in the kit like this. You have an extra pumpkin here that you could also use for this craft today. And then you also have behind the fabric here, you have the insert. It came inside, oops, sneak peek, came inside of the circle here. We're going to be, there's a hole drilled in that. We're going to be using that today for the project. And then also I have the rub-on transfers from this month's kit because I will be doing a fall one. Now, you don't have to use this if you're at home or you're not a member of a kit. You can use all different kinds of bases for the end of your tassel. You could use little gift tags. You could use, we've done one with ornaments. I have over here, let me grab that one. This is one that we did using an ornament cutout, and we did the jute and ribbon tassel. So very similar, but we're going to do a fall themed one, and we're going to be using this larger cutout. So let me show you the other supplies that I have today. I am going to be doing a crackle technique with the Elmer's glue. So to do that, we'll need 2 colors of paint. You will want the darker one, or whatever one you want to show through the cracks, you're going to do first. So I just have a Waverly in pumpkin. How fitting. And then I also have a Waverly in plaster, which is an off-white. It's not as bright of a white. I have got my scissors and my precision transfer tool. Now the transfers do come with a little credit card embosser, but I just like the precision transfer tool so we can get in all those nooks and crannies. I'm going to put these aside. I've also got just regular old Elmer's glue. So we'll be doing that. And then I have my pieces for my tassel. So for this particular project, and you've seen me work with these before. Hey, Miss Cindy. These I get on Amazon in, like, they come in a roll. And so they're already cut. And let me just see how long these are in case you're wondering. They are 20 inches long. So all I did was the same thing that I do with all of the fabric. I wanted to get 4 pieces out of it. So I just give it a little snip, and then you're just going to tear it right down the length way. Okay. So I've already done that, and I have them ready. After I tore them, just so you know where we're at with the things I have prepped, I cut them, I folded them in half, and I cut them exactly in half. So these are 10 inches. The strips that I'm going to be using are 10 inches long. I use 2 strips. The patterns are similar, but there's just a little subtle difference. This one has some gray in the flowers, and this one is just black and white. So they're similar, but not the same. So I just have 2 strips all cut up there, ready to go. I've got my sander. I've got my heat gun, just to speed it up a little bit for you guys. And then I have 29 22 millimeter beads. So I still have some of these left. This will be the last time I'll get to use these because it's going to use the rest of them today. So I've got these buffalo check ones that I'm going to mix with the natural colored bead. You can paint these. I'm not going to worry about it today. I'm trying to keep it simple, simple. Hey, Pam. Thank you so much. Pam says she sprinkled it. Hey, Wanda. Is that what they call from the jelly roll? I think it is called that. I'll have to go back on my Amazon cart and verify. But it's just literally, it's a roll of fabric, and it's all just wrapped like a cinnamon roll when you get it. And they have all different kinds of colors. And I love them because generally the color packages will mix really well together. So yeah, we've used them in kits before, and I absolutely love them. I've got my transfers, and the only other thing that I'm going to need besides brushes and water is I am going to need my timer for the part where we do the glue. So I'm just going to get that. Oh, not Google. I'm just going to get that up here. I had it up. Technology, I swear. Stopwatch. Wait, no, nope, timer. Okay, got that just ready so when we get to that part. All right, other than that, you're just gonna need your jute for your string. Okay, so we're gonna start by prepping our base, whatever you're gonna use for your base. Now, I already did the crackle technique on the back because when we're using the rub-on transfers over the crackle, it really needs time to dry. So I did this about an hour ago, and then we're here in Arizona, so it's a little bit warm outside still. So I just stuck it outside in direct sunlight so it could cure before I got on to do the live. So I'll be showing you how to do it on this side, but then we'll be able to just move on forward and do it on this side so that we don't have to wait. Because otherwise, the transfer is not going to want to stick because it needs to be completely dry. Hi, Miss Janice. I got Wanda tuning in. Hey, Monica. Hi, Miss Christine. Miss Christine, did you get your kit yet? Because I stuck a little special something in there for you. And I want to make sure that you found it. Okay, so we're going to start with our base coat. So this is going to be this pumpkin in the Waverly, which this is brand new. And if you see a little blue floating on top, then mix it up. Hi, Miss Nona. Hey, Sandy. Welcome, welcome, ladies. All right, so we are just prepping for the crackle technique. We're just going to take our base color, and you can use any two colors for this. So if you want to do a white on the bottom and a darker color on top, you could do that. I had to, I've seen some beautiful ones in the membership group on the 25th when I share their projects. I will make sure to show you. I have seen some beautiful ones with black on the bottom and then bright colors on the top. So don't be scared to get creative with the layering of the paint. It doesn't always have to be white on top. I did choose the white just because of the transfer that I'm using. It has a lot of different oranges in it, and I didn't want it to clash too much. So I did go with a whiter color today, but you all have inspired me to do some different ones. I saw a beautiful one. I think it was Miss Lisa's. If I'm remembering wrong, I apologize in advance. She did like a black underneath, and then she did an orange over the top. And then it looks like she antiqued over the top of that, and it was stunning. Stunning. So I think we have one more week before the 25th. I was trying to look at my calendar. What is today? Yeah, I think we have, it'll not next week, but the week after. That's when we change our design drops. So those of you that are looking at this pumpkin, or if you saw the pumpkin and you're like, oh, I want to try that project. If we have any of the base materials left, we do release those to the public. So right now we have the coffee sign cup that we did last month. The ones we have remaining have been released to the public. You can find them under craft kits on the website. So you can snag the basics to make that, the tutorials in there and everything. Wanda says she loves this kit. Is this the surface on the website? Pam, this is what came in your pumpkin. It was the center of the pumpkin. So if you got this month's kit, this is that extra piece that was in the center. But you can use any dogs. I'm not sure if anyone's here or they're just yelling about the heat gun. Probably the heat gun. All right, so you just want to make sure your base layer is dry. And from here, we're going to add our Elmer's glue. So what I find is this never works. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take some out. It's not going to take a whole lot, pretty much just like a blob. And even that is probably too much. All right, we're just going to go with it. This is why I have the mat, y'all. And we're going to put a layer not with our finger, but that just happened. We're going to put a layer of glue on top of the color. This is what's going to make the crackle. There are crackle substances, like Dixie Belle makes one. It is a little bit on the costly side. I have used it before, but now that I feel like I've kind of got this down, I am just using the Elmer's glue because it's more readily available and economical for most people. So we're just going to drag it on here. We want it a little bit thick, but the thicker it is, well, it's kind of a twofold. The thicker it is, the better, like the bigger cracks you're going to have. It also will take longer to dry. So you kind of have to balance that. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but this particular way that I've been doing it lately, the 5-minute rule, has been working really great for me. I've had pretty much success every time. I'm still getting kind of the technique down to get the crackle even across it, but that's going to come with practice. So if you need to take scrap pieces and practice, then that's fun too. All right, so we've got just kind of a good, decent layer on here. At this point is where we want to turn on our timer. So I'm going to go to my timer and I'm just going to set it. And technically I set it for like 4 minutes and 30 seconds because the top is already drying as I'm painting the bottom. So, but just remember the 5-minute rule. All right, we're going to let that set until our timer goes off. And at this point, what we can do is start getting our things ready for our tassel. Ooh, the other thing I'm going to be using today is, let me find it. I am going to be using the Easy Beader today. So this is a tool on our website that we have. If we have any left, I do know we're getting low on them. I have more coming in, but they're not in yet. But this is what we're going to use to thread the beads, so we're not fighting with trying to get the jute through the beads. And I am going to use a thicker jute today because this is a little bit of a thicker base, and we've got a little bit of a thicker tassel. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just use my mat. My mat's 23 inches. So I'm just going to take the 23 inches and double it. And that's what we're going to have to start. So we've got that. This is also a good time if you have not cut all your strings. You're going to want to get all your fabric cut. You can also use ribbon, jute. You don't have to use fabric. For this, I'm just going to kind of get them lined up a little bit. Everything doesn't need to be perfect. We'll probably give it a little haircut at the end. But if we can kind of get them as close to the same length as possible, it will make it a little bit easier. All right, so we're just going to put those in a pile out of the way. I'm going to get this out of the way so we don't get glue anywhere. We have got 2.5 minutes left on our timer, so I can get my transfer ready at this point. I'm going to be using this transfer here, and I think I'm going to take some of these leaves as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut those out. When you're using the transfers, they come with a protective backing, so you can just rough cut whatever it is that you're going to use for your project and just leave everything else attached to the sheet. I have a little bin that I like to put them in. I can show you that in just a moment here. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm also going to cut out these little leaves here. So you just snip around whatever it is that you want to use. So we'll put that over there. And then if we wanted to layer anything else, we could do that as well. That's all I'm going to be using for today, but I'll show you the little bins. I get these from Dollar Tree, and I know it doesn't look like they fit in there because they're all piled in there, but they fit in there really well. And then I just have a bin for each season. And they do have lids, but the drawer I have over here are the ones that I'm using all the time. Dollar Tree. Did you see the little handle fell off? But that's fine. You can set them in top of each other without the lids. So in my drawer where I'm doing my crafting, I have generally like the season. So I have my everyday ones, I have my fall ones, and I have my Christmas ones right here. And then Easter and Valentine's Day and the other seasons, I'll just put the lid on them and then I'll store them up on the shelf. But that's a great way to keep them organized and have them contained, because you can put all the little pieces that like if I cut this piece out and I don't end up using it today, I can just put it back in that bin and I'm not losing the little pieces or they're not getting destroyed or floating around. So that's worked really well for me. Again, I just got them at the Dollar Tree. The transfer sheets are 6.5 by 12. So you just need something that will fit, 11.5 inches, because it's fine if they bend a little bit like you saw in mine. But that's worked really well to keep them straight and not lose all the little pieces. All right, our little timer is going to go off here in 18 seconds. So we're going to get our top color ready. This is going to be tacky still, and that's what we want. So I'm going to come in. I'm just going to go ahead and delete my timer so it doesn't go off. So we're going to come in with your top color. So whatever that top color is, we're going to come in and you're going to get a decent amount on your brush. And you're just going to, I try to start all the way over at one side. And the key is to not work it. So you can get away with working it a little bit, but not too much. Just take the paint that's on your brush and drag it over there. This part, there's not a whole lot here, so I don't want to get a ton of paint. And again, where it's thicker, where the glue's thicker, see that time I didn't have enough paint, because see where it like smeared a little bit. So just go back over it. Generally, I like to kind of drag from either one side or the other or from the middle out at different like intervals so that I don't have everything starting from the middle. And then I'll just turn it around and I'll go to the other side. So you're getting a decent amount of paint on that brush. If it's starting to drag, we need to add more paint. Don't work it. Don't try to cover every little area. I feel like I got my paint right in the way there. So you can see I just keep dipping and dragging. We're not going to need as much paint as we get to the bottom, but I want to make sure I have some on there. All right, and that's it. Like, we're not going to go over it anymore. We're not going to make sure everything's covered because we do want those cracks. So we can take the rest of our paint, put our brush in there. And from here, we're going to hit it with heat gun, and you will start to see the cracks develop. So let's do that. Nona 5-minute rule. So set your timer for 5 minutes. Usually, I have it set for like 4 minutes and 20 seconds just because the 5 minute start, 5 minutes is fine. Just set your timer for 5 minutes. And then when it goes off, you're going to go over it with the white. So we'll go with the heat gun and you will try to do it so you can see it here. You'll start to see the crackle forming. So generally I will get it right about to this stage, and I'll lift it up a little bit so you can see a little bit better. But these parts right here are probably still going to crackle a little bit, but that's either where the glue got too dry before I applied it, or I didn't put enough glue. So we've got a couple of those areas here. And that's the part that I'm working on personally as I keep trying to do this. So I would get it to this stage. Hold on, I see a little bit wet right here, and I don't want to flip it over with that wet. So I generally get it to this stage, dry it with the air gun, and then I will go try and put it out somewhere, like I mentioned, direct sunlight if you're in a hurry and you're trying to get the process, or you could do this and then in the morning or something, come back at night and finish it. But you want to give it time to completely cure. If you were doing decoupage on this, it wouldn't matter. It only matters if you're doing rub-on transfer to make sure that it's completely dry, because otherwise the transfer is going to not stick because the glue is still a little bit tacky. So we're not going to use that side. We'll use the side that I did earlier. And then you can see on this side, I've got like really good chunky crackle here. And then I've got like little crackle. And I know it's never going to be even or perfect, but it's just something I'm personally working on. I feel like I could get a little bit better. So I'm going to keep working on it. But we're ready to go ahead and put our transfers on here. So I'm using the Let the Peace of Christ Rule in Your Hearts. If you are a club member and you have the kit, there are multiple transfers. Let me just show that real quick while that's sitting here. There are multiple transfers that will fit on the round that came in your pumpkin. For example, if you wanted this to be the main graphic, you could use that. The one that I just cut out was from right here. And since it's going to be hanging like this, we need to find something vertical. Another one, this one right here will fit in it. So you can use that one. And then this one, My Peace I Leave Unto You, will fit. The Give Thanks pumpkin cappuccino, however you say that, will fit. And then also the one down here, Fall Into His Peace. That one will fit as well. And then of course you can mix, match, and layer. And I can't wait to show you what the members have made. There's all these other little ones. So make it your own. Like, the whole goal is for everyone to be able to create something unique that inspires them. Wanda says it came out so good. I feel like I'm getting good at the crackle. I don't want to, not trying to be prideful, but let me just tell you, crackle and me for like 2 years have been in a struggle. And to the point where, like I mentioned, I bought the Dixie Belle because I thought it would be easier. And then I just kept watching videos and I was like, I can do this. And then I just kept playing with the times. And the 5-minute worked for me. So with the transfers, you're going to peel off the protective backing. And if you're new to our rub-on transfers, they can pretty much stick to anything that's a clean, dry surface. So they work on metal, paper, plastic, glass, wood, painted surfaces. They do get a little tricky over a wax. So if you're using something that's wax, like a wax candle, or if we had waxed this, then I would just suggest putting a layer of Mod Podge over first, let that dry really well, and then apply the transfer, and you won't have those issues. They also work on fabric. All right, so I'm going to center this down. And if you'll notice, my little leaf is going to come off the edge here, and that's okay. I'm going to show you how we're going to work with that. But I kind of want it down towards the bottom. And then I'm going to add some of those leaves around it. So I'm going to use my mat here because this, I know this is straight. It's the edge of the design. Oh, actually, I don't know that's straight. I cut that. Just kidding. I was thinking it was the edge of the plastic, and it's not. So give yourself grace if you are not a straight cutter. But I'm going to just try and get it as centered as I can here. And we're going to put it down. We'll go over it with our hands first. Again, we've got this part over here. That's okay. So then I'm going to come back over it with my precision transfer tool. Again, I like this because I can really get, it's a stiff tool. The cards are more bendy. So you can just get more pressure with the transfer tool and really get in there. And then it has the second end. So if you needed to get any of these little details, you have the option to really get in there. If you don't have the transfer tool, it's available on our website, but you could also use a popsicle stick if you need one in a pinch. That is a good option as well. All right, I'm going to do this part last because that's going to just kind of hang off there for a second. But once we have it nice and pressed down, we're going to come in and get the edge. And if we have it on there good enough, if we've rubbed enough, it's going to start releasing itself. So don't force the transfer. We're going to rub and just pull back as we rub. This might get a little bumpy for you guys. Hey, Miss Peggy. Wanda says she learned something new. I love it. So we can see this is a full graphic, so it's going to release nice. It's not, we don't have a bunch of lettering floating around the middle or anything. All right, when we get to the end here, we're just going to go ahead and pull it off. Then we are going to take our sander and we're just going to lightly sand to separate that piece. All right, so we've got our first one on there. And then I'm just going to show you this because this is what will happen if we don't let the crackle dry enough. So this part right here is still tacky, and so is this. So this actually stuck to my mat right here, and we can touch it up later. Don't worry about it. But I just wanted to show that is what's going to happen and why the transfer won't stick, because it wasn't dry enough before I flipped it over. So again, I'm not concerned about it, but I just want to show you why. All right, I'm just going to get it. I don't want it to get everywhere. All right, now we can add our little leaves anywhere we want to add them. So I am going to use one of them over here. So I'm going to separate this. Again, we don't have to use this whole graphic the way that it is. We just cut and use what we want where we want. So I'm just going to take this little guy and I'm just going to try and fill in. I want to fill in the space over here, so it just looks a little more even and it's not hanging out. I don't have anything just not hanging out over here. There we go. And then we can take the others. I'm trying to feel like which way. I feel like they would kind of fall like that. All right. Who knows? It's the wind, right? They could probably fall any different direction, but I'm just going to take them up here. Again, make sure we're not touching any of the little graphics. I'm going to overlay it a little bit. I'm going to make it come up here a little bit. So it kind of looks like they're falling down there. And then these are all individual graphics. See how they're not, there's nothing connecting them. So because of that, we have to make sure we get each little one before we start lifting off. So I'm going to do a 1/over with the wider side of the tool. And then I'm going to come in here and get each of the little ones with the small part of the tool before I start trying to lift them, because I want them to stick to my surface and not the paper. So we're just going to get a corner here. And again, we're just going to rub and lift. It should automatically lift when it's ready. If it's not coming down, if it's not coming off, we need to rub it some more. If it's really giving you an issue, sometimes in places that have humidity, it can get a little funky because your stuff's not dry. You can also warm it up with, warm up the transfer once you get it rubbed in with the heat gun, go over it again, or even a hair dryer, and it should help it release if you are having that issue. But typically, as long as your surface is dry and clean, you won't have any issues. So from here, we have the whole front design that we're going to be using for the tassel done. If you wanted to, again, I can't today because this needs to dry and everything, you can do another design on the back. So as you're displaying it, it can display any angle, because with the tassel, it's not going to matter like which way you display it. On this one, we just did a solid back and then we did the nativity on the front. So if you want to display it like this, you could. So you have options to do the front and the back. Hey, Miss Peggy. And I particularly, when I was thinking about this project, I thought, how cute are these? One, for resale. And when I put them in my booth, they sell. The other thing is for gifts. Like, how cute were these? I mean, you don't have to do a fall one. You could do a Christmas one. You could do an everyday one. All the things. So it's just such a simple project that is so easy and makes a perfect gift. All right, I don't know why I tried to do that without the beater. One note, if you're going to resell or even if you're going to give it as a gift, I'm just going to use this myself. But before we make the tassel and get it all strung, you are going to want to seal it. So as usual, I just share the sealer that I use. You don't have to use Aleene's, but what you're looking for is an acrylic sealer. On this type of project, I would use a matte. And this one is rated for indoor and outdoor. That's why I like it. I don't have to buy multiple sealers. So matte on anything that you don't want shiny. I also have the same thing in a gloss. And a gloss is what I would use if it was glass, or we've used the gloss on the rocks. So that's going to be the finish that the project is going to have. So whenever you're using the beater, you're going to go through whatever you are trying to get your string through first. And then you're going to put it through the opening. And then you can pull it through. Now this is thick jute, so it is going to probably give me a little bit of a hiccup. We'll see. If it does, I might have to stick to the thinner jute. But you're going to want to string your whatever the end of the top of the lanyard, the garland is going to be. You need to put the string through your project first, okay? And from here, we're going to go ahead and string the beads. So let's see if I can get them both through with at the same time. If not, what we're going to do is you pull one through, stick the beader again, pull the other one through. Yeah, so we'll probably, because this is thicker, we're going to have to do, we'll have to do each one twice. So the pattern that I'm going to do is I'm going to do one of the checkered ones, and then I'm going to do 3 of the regular ones. Now, if I was thinking ahead, I would have had some of this done ahead of time. But you can't really do it. Hold on, let me get these. You kind of want to stay. Let me just show you. If you're putting this one through the left, keep your strings straight as you're pulling them through so that it doesn't get all twisted. Sorry, I'm like off camera. So it doesn't get all twisted as you're putting the beads through. So we're just going to do one at a time. What did I do? Hold on. I tried to add another bead. I'm trying to speed it up. Look at me messing up. All right. So pull them all the way down because we don't want everything like knotted and messed up. Keep your strings straight as you're putting them through. And then you're just going to keep going. I'm going to keep one string on this side and one string on the other side. And that'll help me keep them together. So besides crafting, or watching this craft, what all are you guys doing today? We finally had a break in the weather here, which it's not miserable outside, which I'm glad for that. But then when I stuck this outside to dry and didn't have the direct sunlight, I was like a little panicky that it wasn't going to be dry in time. But it seemed to have worked good. I think just having that little bit of heat was what it needed. All right, we're going to get these through here. Does everyone already have, do you already have your fall decorations up? I'm so behind. We're going to switch to we have Christmas kits that are coming out to members starting next month, Christmas projects. So I have been knee deep in everything Christmas, and I cannot wait to show you. We have the next 2 project kits. The next month is already set and ready to go. We're starting to box them right now. The one after that, we're just finishing the prototypes yesterday and today, and it is so cute. It is, I'm the worst at spilling the beans. Ooh, Monica's canning salsa. I love canned salsa. My grandma used to can salsa, and so did my aunt, and it was the best tasting. I don't think there's anything as delicious as canned salsa, especially if you got like a really good recipe. I keep thinking I'm going to get canning stuff and I haven't yet. I need to do it because I need another hobby, right? All right, I'm going to get too crazy and get ahead of myself here. I'm trying to think of what updates I have. Little Mr. Parker's been sick. He's got whatever crud is going around. We think he's over the most of it, but still got a little bit of that cough. He did miss a day of school last week because of it. Poor thing did not sleep for 2 nights in a row. And then when it was time for school after the second night, I could not get him up at all. And I just thought, you know what? I think it's better that he just rest. So he's been doing a lot better, but yesterday he came home from school and he was pretty active. And then as soon as it was time for him to do his homework, he sat down to do his homework on the couch and the poor thing fell asleep. So I just let him sleep. I think he did wake up later and get it done, but sometimes that's what your body needs. Oh, and I have a God thing to share. Here's where we're at so far. We're getting there, so bear with me. I have not shared a lot about just my family, and like most families, you know, everyone's kind of in their own spot with their walk with God. And my brother and I, we don't catch up as much as we should, to the point where every time that one of us calls each other, we have to be like, nobody died, nobody's in the hospital. Like, you know, sometimes life just happens. And he reached out earlier this week. We were watching a movie. I think it was Sunday night. And he really just poured his heart out to me and had said, because especially when it's your family and they've known you for your whole life, like, they know you, right? And I think, well, I know when you find God and you start walking with God, you can't help but change, right? You know, we don't stay the same. And that's the whole point of walking with Christ is, you know, you change. And he's been watching over the years. I didn't know. I mean, I put myself out there on social media in the beginning. You know, you're so scared that your friends and family are going to be watching you and they're going to mock you. Or with me, when I first started, it was, oh, here Melanie goes again with another thing, because I've had a lot of things over the years before I found my lane and what God wanted me to do. And sometimes that's how it is in the beginning. You know, God's sending you a direction and you're not sure where it's going, but I'm always, you know, as soon as he gives me a direction, I'm like, let's go. And, you know, I'm that sheep that kind of just runs and often doesn't wait for him. And then he's got to like pull me back. So, you know, he's seen all of that. He's seen before I was sober, and, you know, we've had weddings and family reunions and I was acting a fool, and he's seen it all. So our biological father actually died an alcoholic, and it was really sad to see him go through that. I did not have a relationship with him. I thought because of the alcoholism, but it's just a whole bunch of, you know, family drama. And my brother was the one that found him, so I'm sure that was traumatic. But my brother, both of us, not just my brother, both of us has struggled with alcoholism, because that's the way the enemy does. He uses whatever has worked for generations is the first place that he's going to start with you or with us. That's where he's going to start. And so that's just been it's been an easy thing for our family, right? Especially with our childhood and everything that we went through. We didn't know how to deal with the stuff that was going on. So you have to deal with it somehow. And if you don't have God, a lot of the times people turn to other things. Could be exercise, could be work, could be sex, could be alcohol, could be drugs. You know, the body needs to find a way to cope. And so we basically both turned to alcohol. And in my early days, when I was still, you know, I was a new Christian, I had a way of justifying my alcohol consumption because the Bible says Jesus turned water into wine. So that's what I was using to justify myself. So it took many years of God working on me to cross that hurdle. And it was a lot of years of restoration ministries. If you guys have been around a minute, you have heard me talk about restoration ministries and what an impact it was to me. And if you're not familiar with it, restoration ministries is usually a type of ministry that deals with anything from abuse, neglect, abortion, grief. It all kind of falls under that restoration ministry umbrella. And I was introduced to Restoration Ministries through a program called Mending the Soul that my church had. And it was a pretty intensive program. Like, it's not, think therapy on steroids, but all wrapped around God and the Bible. Like, highly, highly recommend. But it is also held in very intimate, very small groups. And they will pray over who's going to be in that session, because basically you're all going to be processing and working through everything together. And it's pretty much a no holds bar to work through your trauma, whatever that is. So you're going to be sharing your trauma. Don't let that scare you. But they're going to be sharing theirs. You're going to go through the whole program together. And I think it was like a 6 or an 8 week program. And you have a lesson each week, and God just walks you through literally mending your soul. Because when things like that happen, it fractures the soul, and we have to fix that. So I actually went through that, still drinking, but processing a whole bunch. Like, God used that to process through a whole bunch of trauma that I had, show me where he was at in it, all of it. And then when I got done with that, it kind of, to me, felt like you had unpacked everything out of your closet, and now you were just sitting in all the rubble. So, like when you're moving and you go through all of the closets and drawers and everything where you just stick stuff that you don't want to deal with right now, like the junk drawer or the storage unit or anything. I had gone through and sorted all of those things, but I didn't know what to do with this stuff. I was kind of just stuck with, okay, great. I see it all. Now what do we do with it? And one of who's become my dear friend, was a facilitator of my Breaking Free session. And I get talking and I forget what I'm doing. I did so good for so many of the little buttons here. She's like, hey, I'd like to do another restoration program. And she got it approved through the church, and it was called, actually first, no, we did it together. She just did a small group. There was 3 of us from the Breaking Free session that she invited to do it. And it was called Breaking Free. So we went through and did it together, and that was life-changing for me, because it allowed me to sort everything, and then it gave me the tools that I needed to go back and mend those relationships and finally put everything away and file it, and real life tools that I could use for everyday life. And that's what I needed. So we ended up, after that, getting approved through the church to teach that class. And I went through 2 or 3 sessions of that of still working through stuff before I addressed the alcohol. So long story short, I know that's a long story long. He had seen me go through all of this and do all of these changes. So what I'm going to do right now, while I'm still chatting here, is we're ready to go ahead and put our tassel on here. So I'm going to I've got just the end of the rope here. You don't want it so tight that you can't move it. So you may have to, because I was shoving them down as I go, you may have to just kind of loosen them up a little bit so that you have some movement in the actual garland part. I'm going to keep loosening it just a little bit. So after that, I was able to get sober and all of the things, and that's a story for another day. But basically, he had seen me go through all of this. And then after that, I launched the first version of this company, which was Gift the Gospel. And we just had, I didn't have any of the stuff I have now. It was completely different, because I wasn't doing what God was asking me to do. I was doing what I thought would work, which was selling Christian jewelry and t-shirts like everybody else was. I wasn't passionate about it, but that's where people that I knew were having success. So I was like, I'll just start there. Meanwhile, God's telling me to sell this tissue paper. And I was like, nah, I'm going to try this first. Yeah, that didn't work out. All right, so I'm just going to put my, what are these? Our little fabric scraps. And we're just going to tie them to the end here. So right now, we're just knotting them to the bottom of our garland here. Now, before I tie it too tight, I do want to make sure that we don't have to be super obsessive about having all the strings the same length, But if you want to just kind of adjust a few of them, if you have a few hiding or you've got some long ones on one end, you can go ahead and do that now before we get it too tight. And then the other thing is we do want to make sure that wherever we tie it is in the middle. So I'm going to just go here where I can see where the middle is, because I want to make sure I find the middle here. There we go, right there. So I'm going to just scooch it over just a little bit, and then we're going to double knot this. Again, make sure you still have some slack in your beads. And we're going to double knot it on the bottom. So you might have to, you know, maneuver it around a little bit, but we want to hide this knot. So we're going to double knot that. So he had seen me go through all of this. And he basically just called me the other night and was like, how did you do what you did? And I was like, what? And first of all, when he called, he was so upset. I thought someone was in the hospital. And he's like, no, no one's in the hospital. Everything's fine. But he was so upset he couldn't talk. And so I asked him, and we don't have, you know, I'm usually me. All right, I'm going to fold this around, and I'm going to get my, actually I'm going to get another strip of this, because I'm going to actually tie this in a strip, and I forgot to pull one out. So hold on, let me just grab one more. Oh, you know what? I have them cut. Let's grab those. I knew I had them out here for a reason, and then I forgot. I'm going to try and tie it with one of these extra. So this is one that is not cut at all. It's just the 20 inches. All right, pat it down, give it a nice good pet. And then I'm gonna have to stop the story for a minute because I gotta show you how to do this knot. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start, and you would do this with jute or ribbon or whatever you're using. Okay, we're gonna use fabric today for the first time. Jesus, take the wheel. So we need a loop like this, okay? And we don't have to use the same fabric. I could have used a darker one. I actually thought about using this one. I think we will. We'll use this one. All right, so we're gonna make, again, this is just the same thing. It's just a strip. So we're gonna make our loop. And we're gonna grab everything together. So you want this one hanging out to the side. We've got our loop. Then we're going to bring this around, and you're going to start it wherever you want the top of your tie. This is what's going to tie everything together. So I almost feel, you know what, I'm going to make this a little thinner because I feel like I don't need this fat of a strip. So to do that, we're just going to give it another snip, and then we'll just rip it. So easy. Okay, so now we have like a thinner strip. So let's make our loop again. Yeah, this is easier to work with. The biggest part is you just want to make sure that your knot that we made of the jute is on the inside. So if we can, you know, give it a twist around, make sure that it's not poking out on you anywhere, and then we're going to make our loop. I feel like my loop's going the wrong way. There we go. So we've got our loop, we've got our tail. And I'm going to flip this around so that the darker color is on the outside, because that's what I want to show. And then we're just going to wrap this around. So wrap it around as many times as you want. I'm going to go one more. And then I'm going to take the end that I have, and I'm going to go through that loop. And I'm going to hold that over here with my thumb. Then I'm going to pull this, and as we pull this, it's going to pull that knot underneath, and then I'm going to give it a good yank. And when you do that, you'll feel it click, and that your knot's in there. So from there, you can just clip these ends, and then you don't have a knot showing. Now from here, we're going to adjust it a little bit, and I'm going to trim the ends while we get through here. So if you have like some little pieces here and you want to just pull this a little bit tight, you might be able to scooch it up a little bit. If you'd like to scooch it up, I feel like it's in a really good spot. So from here, I'm just going to trim my ends here. So to do that, you can just make sure everything's straight, and you're just going to go ahead and give it a little haircut. So we'll do that. And then I'm actually going to go through with my fingernail, and I'm just going to pull, because I don't want like this exact cut thing. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to fray, just pull the strings off the bottom of these. Anyway, so he had seen all of this, and he was so upset, and I just asked him, I'm like, hey, is it okay if I pray for you? Because I've learned you need to ask. That was a lesson I didn't, it took me a little bit to realize, because some people do get offended, but generally no one says no. So it's just polite to ask if you're going to pray out loud. So I'll just ask him, oh, can I pray for you? And he was like, please, yes. And so I just prayed, got him calmed down, and then I just let him, I was just quiet until he felt okay to talk. And then he just told me, he's all, how did you do this? Like, how did you get sober? He's like, I have watched your entire life change. He's like, everything. I've watched it all. He's like, we came from the same place and we went through the same thing. And I know it has something to do with God, but I don't understand. Like, he's all, I'm just at the end. And so of course I had the conversation, okay, you're not at the end. And he's like, no, I'm not there. He's like, I've been there before. And then that was sad too, because I didn't even know that. But I guess when we were children, he had. And again, I didn't even know that. So I just had the most amazing opportunity to just share my testimony, share what God had done, give him some tools of, how do you pray? How do you, I asked him if he had a Bible. He said he'd already ordered one. We talked about gifts of the Spirit, because he had mentioned some things, and I'm like, those are gifts. Like, you have that. That's a gift, and it, you can use that with God. And he was just so excited and so uplifted, and just like it was the good news. It was the good news. And I think everything that has happened this last week is just such a good opportunity for us to be the hands and feet of Jesus. There's so many people that are coming to Christ. They're going to church that haven't been in years. That I've seen atheists turning to Christ. I've seen witches turning to Christ. It has been phenomenal. The revival is here. So all that to say, I just got full body chills. Be the person that people can call. Be the person. I have never, pushed my religion on anything, on anyone. I will let God open doors. There's no judgment. Have I been praying for that kid since I came to Christ? Yes. I'm praying for all my family members, but I don't know when that's going to happen. It's taken me a good 10 years to get to where I am today. And it's taken me being obedient, and it's taken me to learn how to get in the word every day, and to just be a vessel, and to not be a judgy person. When I first came to Christ, I was like Jesus, vomiting on everybody, telling them they're going to hell. Like, I've had to grow. But this is just such a great season to see the fruit, not just the fruit in my own life, but to see how that fruit in my life is speaking to those that I've been praying for years. So all that to say, and usually I know we do this a lot in the members, but if you're hearing this, or it speaks to you, or if it's put on your heart, will you keep my brother in your prayers for just his walk with Jesus, with his sobriety, and just for the seeds to land on good ground where they can really take root and he can grow, because I'm just so excited about what God's doing in his life. And I just praise the Lord. Just praise the Lord. Love it. Monica says she saw a quote. She always quotes during hard times. Don't tell God how big your problems are. Instead, tell your problems how big God is. I love that. Put on your God goggles for sure. And then Nona says, Satan doesn't want me to hear this story. My computer keeps freezing. Nona, it is recorded, girl. You can come back and watch the replay if you missed any of it. But I just want to tell you, God is so, So good, so good. And he constantly, me and my girlfriend Julie are always saying, like, when something crazy like that happens, we're just like, that's just God showing off. He's showing off today. And he did. And I just want to share that with all of you, because I know, especially in the member group, we have a lot of members that will say, will you lift up so-and-so in my family that, you know, he's a prodigal, or they're a prodigal, or that they find Christ, or they come back to Christ. And I just am sharing all this to tell you, God hears you and he will answer your prayers. Don't stop praying. If they're breathing, it's not too late. All right. So we just keep interceding for those that don't know him yet, and keep walking out our journeys and sharing our faith and sharing our God stories. I don't take any of the credit for me being sober or launching this business or being in front of you today. God had to drag me kicking and screaming literally the entire way. I'm embracing it now, but it's taken me a long time to get to this place. So may we all be vessels. May we all be vessels. With that, we finished our little lanyard garland. How cute is that? You can make this bigger too. I actually thought about making it as big as this thing, but then I saw a bunch of examples where the, here I can remove this one, where they had the smaller little tassels, and I thought that was so cute. So again, this is just the inside of the pumpkin that came in your member kits. And if you're not a member, you can use anything that has a hole. Use a gift tag. You can use ornaments in the member kit. You also have the smaller pumpkin you could use too. So you just need something with a hole. I used 29 beads. And again, you can use more beads or less beads if you want. You could use smaller beads and do the same technique and make a bookmark. We've done that before. So it doesn't have to be a big piece like this. I'm actually going to put it on my tier tray. I like to like wrap it around and then like drop it down. So I'll do something like that. I've also used them in those bowls that you have on your table, and you can kind of weave things through there. The bowls of like, I don't know, like little wooden bulbs and pine cones and florals and stuff. Sometimes I'll weave it through there. So you can make it as long or as short as you want, but that's how easy it is to make a tassel. Again, I just use rub-on transfers for this one. You could decoupage it. You could decoupage and rub-on transfers as well. So get creative. And then these are just the fat scrappers. These are just the scrap fabrics. See, I'm not talking about Jesus and now I can't talk. Isn't that the way it goes? So cute. But I'm going to wrap this up. I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining today. If you are a member, don't forget, this week is Member Bonus Craft Night. We're going to be doing the wood slice sign. So we're going to be doing this little guy here. These are some wood slices with the little stem, and we're going to make a little bow. There were some kits. I don't think we have any more of the kits available, but you just need 3 wood slices or 3 discs. You need the little stem. We're going to use the fabric scrap, some jute, and then we're going to use a transfer here on the front. So we'll be doing that together on Thursday. When we get together as members, we do the full crafting method, where we choose our verse. We read it aloud. So C-R-A. We assemble our supplies. F, we focus in prayer to open up. And then T, we think and meditate as we craft on the verse. So we'll be going through that full process in the membership group on Thursday. So that will be the next time I will be live. So that's in the member group. And then I will be back next Tuesday. We have a brand new release. And all I will tell you is, if you loved the coaster maker set last year, which so many of you did, I think we sold out of it twice. It's back better than ever. And if you love cardinals, you're going to want to pay attention to that one as well. So that's it for me today. And until I see you next time, happy crafting.